Live from the Four Aces Studios, Four Aces Presents brings to you West Coast Bias.
The following Four Aces production is for mature audiences only. Listener discretion is highly advised.
Hey listener, Dutch here from
Hello.
Hello?
All right, so here we are. All right, so I have my mic muted, and I don't know what happened, but I guess y'all could hear me for a split second, and then y'all couldn't. But we're live here at 4H Studios, right here on West Coast Bias. Hey, y'all out there in Radio Land listening in. First of all, let's say thank you for listening in. And you know what? Let's go ahead and kick this off with a little bit of how do you say, controversy to an extent. Heather, me and you were having this
controversy.
No, like me and you were having this conversation a little bit earlier about the report that came out recently about Kareem Hunt and people have an interest in him.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting that story hit right now because, as we know, Greg Hardy just fought and lost via DQ, dumbass, his first MMA fight last night as well. So
Which came as a total shock, said no one ever. I mean, he was disqualified for an illegal flying knee. Like, I mean, come on, with his history, you didn't think some shady shit was going to happen in the fight? Really? I mean, seriously, I would have been more surprised had the fight gone on and it had gone normal.
Yeah.
That would have been shocking. But, yeah, exactly. And, I mean, let's be honest, the second that UFC brought him on, I'm not watching UFC. I'm not fucking with UFC as long as he is under contract with them, period. I have my morals and my standards, and I've stuck by them since day fucking one.
Yes. You have.
And it's not going to change now that he's in a different sport.
Yeah.
Because now he knows he can't win legally against a man. That's the thing.
Yeah, and that's the truth. Like, and we'll touch a little bit more on the social implications of him being on that card. But let's focus a little bit more right now on Kareem Hunt and his opportunities that they are said to be out there for him once the new league year starts. So, your thoughts on Kareem Hunt basically already having offers before he's even brought back or allowed to be able to play football, basically. Like, people are already interested in trying to sign him.
Man, it's a tough question because
okay.
I got a hell of a lot to say.
That's why I saved you for last time.
I don't know. Me personally, I don't agree with, you know what I'm saying, his actions.
Right.
Let's start with that. You know what I'm saying? I don't agree with his actions. It's wrong to put your hands, as a man, to put your hands on a woman,
Right.
first and foremost. That should never happen. There's plenty other ways to deal with this situation. You know what I'm saying? If you want to fight somebody, fight a man.
Yeah.
However,
And let's be honest, not just a woman, but basically a kid. She was 19.
Wow, I didn't know that much.
yeah, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So that is wrong. You know what I'm saying? So that should be dealt with. You know what I'm saying? That should be dealt with by the authorities. That should be dealt with by, you know what I'm saying, the police, you know what I'm saying, and the proper authorities.
Right.
It is because of his job and his platform, right, that so much more attention is being drawn to the situation.
Right.
Okay? This type of thing happens every day. Every day, every month, somewhere in America.
Yeah.
Right? But it's just not reported and magnified. Okay? Should he be allowed to play? Yes. And I say that because it's his job.
Yeah.
It's how he makes a living. You understand what I'm saying? And you can hate the man as much as you want. That's fine. You can protest the games. That's fine. The fact of the matter is he's a high caliber athlete, and it's his job, regardless of the cameras, regardless of the fans, regardless of all that. Does he have a higher moral obligation and responsibility? Yes. Do people always take on these moral obligations and responsibility? No. Do we fall short sometimes? Of course. Do we make mistakes? Yes. So, should he be allowed to play? I think so, because it's his job. Should he be punished? Rightfully so, of course. But to say he shouldn't be allowed, shouldn't have any offers, or he shouldn't be allowed to work, or make a living, or have a life, or be a person, you understand, to be a contributing member to society, you know, to
Now-
protest
Yeah.
and to rise up against an individual. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Rise up and protest against the actions and what happened, and seek help and counsel for the individual
Right.
in the situation. You know what I'm saying? Too quick as a society, do we jump on a bandwagon blind? You understand what I'm saying? Just to, you feel me, point the finger and be politically correct and be on the right side. Okay, I understand that. It's politically right and it's politically wrong, you know, words and so on and so forth, and actions and so on and so forth. But shouting at the problem and yelling at the problem and showing hatred, the same type of hatred and more to an individual, and then using the actions as a justification, you know, I don't know, it's wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I said, let's get to the root of the problem without just, you feel me, without trying to destroy a man's life. You understand what I'm saying? Without trying to destroy a man's career. And again, my heart goes out to the victim. You know, I'm not victim blaming. I'm not saying this is her fault. It's not. No, I'm not going there. What I would like is to get to the root of the problem. Let's stop yelling at the people. You know what I'm saying? Let's stop yelling at the individual, okay, whose job is to stand in front of a camera. And so because he stands in front of a camera, it's easier to send a lynch mob out and go get this one person, right? They did it to Ray Rice, got him out the league. So, okay, you destroyed this man's life, his livelihood. And that makes
He did that himself.
No. And again, I'm not disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing. But to take pride, you understand, in the fact that people were able to come together and destroy a man's career without getting to the root of the problem, I kind of have a problem with that. That's why I don't want to answer the question or jump on the bandwagon or on these.
I get that, but this is where I have the problem, and this is kind of what I posted when I posted the article about this.
Yeah.
It's, to me, like in the NFL right now, where Cap can't get a fucking job because he kneeled for the anthem.
Yeah.
But yet somebody who's beating on women can still get a job. First of all, what's that saying to women? Secondly, what's that saying to persons of color? It's saying your lives don't mean shit. That's what it's saying. As long as it doesn't hurt our precious sensibilities, meaning rich white owners of the NFL, we don't fucking care.
Yeah. Well,
period. That's what I have the problem with. That and the fact that here it's like you're saying to me that it's worse to kneel in peaceful protest for the anthem than it is to put your hands on a female.
And
or to put your hands on anybody, honestly. Male,
Abdul, before you go, hold on. I'm
transgender, cisgender, it doesn't matter. Putting your hands on anybody.
Is wrong.
Athletes, actors, freaking musicians, whether they like it or not, they are role models. What is this saying to the youth? And I'm not just putting it on the personal athlete. I'm putting it on the league as a whole. I'm putting it on the NFL team who blatantly said they would never bring on Cap. Yet they're some of the first ones to jump out there for Hunt. There is something morally wrong with that.
And this is where, hold on real quick, and this is where I'll kind of say I see both ends. I kind of see the middle ground between both ends. Because do I understand what you're saying? That the media has a tendency to not overblow, but has a tendency to drive what the NFL does. So basically, if you get an overwhelming media and fan backlash, then they're going to react. And now it just happened to be in the Cap situation that the feelings of the majority of the owners coincided with the feeling of the minority of human beings about Cap kneeling. You know what I'm saying? And so they took action upon it. But where I see where Heather's coming from is, as a league, like, basically, yeah, that's the message you're sending. You're sending the message that domestic violence doesn't matter as long as you're a star athlete. Because let's be real, if Kareem Hunt was a third stringer or a junk star, he would have been out the league the minute the first report came out. He wouldn't be giving another chance at all. So because of that,
it's just like look at Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill, had he done what he did while he was in the NFL, two of the things he did were automatic lifetime bans. His girlfriend was pregnant at the time, and he tried to strangle her. Those are both exacerbating freaking circumstances that would lead to a lifetime ban. He got kicked out of school for that shit.
Yeah.
But then, there was no video of it or any of that. But fuck, man. Congrats, Rams.
Yeah.
But, some shiny look-a-bunny, but it's like Tyreek Hill is the perfect example to me. It's why I want to punch every freaking executive in the Chiefs office, and not just because I'm a Raiders fan, but because what message is it sending? The school did the right thing when they did what they did. He should never have been allowed into the NFL draft.
No, that's true.
Fuck, Pryor had to serve a 5-game suspension for some bullshit.
For signing an autograph. Holy shit!
Oh my!
Holy shit!
Didn't have to freaking serve shit.
Yeah.
After he began in the NFL. I mean, what's that saying?
And that's an amen to that right there, sister. I see what you're saying as well, dude. Though, to me, I think there should be a waiting period, depending upon the severity, including it up to lifetime bans. So basically, if whatever you did was so horrible, yeah, it should be, the NFL should say no team can sign you because we don't want you in our league if the offense is bad enough. The NFL should be able to say that. Okay, like they left the cap situation up to the owners, but in the situations of domestic violence or bad domestic violence, the league should be able to tell every owner, you are not allowed to sign this man because we don't want this in our league. Let him go play semi-pro ball. Let him go play someplace else. Let him go play rugby. Let him go do something else. But
won't even
don't
be allowed in Canada. He can't go play freaking in Canada. They don't let that shit up there.
So I'm just saying, like, the league
got
needs to take a stand on it.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, like the league needs to take a stand because right now the league's silence is speaking volumes. But go ahead, Abdul. You've been trying to say something for like the past 5 minutes, so go ahead.
Sorry.
Look, and again, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
You feel me? In terms of the domestic violence, like you know what I'm saying, the NFL, you know what I'm saying, and in terms of race relations and so on and so forth, the NFL does have to take a bigger stand in investing money, and being more transparent with again addressing the issue.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like going out to the communities, you know, to these shelters for battered women, to these prisons, for that you know, with the convicts who feel like, you know, and reaching out more to the NFL, not the players, okay, but the NFL, the executives. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? Putting more of a campaign out there. You know what I'm saying, against domestic violence.
Well, I go ahead.
Again, to your point, if Kareem Hunt or Ray Rice and these guys were, you know what I'm saying, third stringers and on the verge of being out the league anyway, nah. You know what I'm saying? And this is our media and how we guide and drive things. You understand what I'm saying? If he was on his way out the league, nobody probably would have cared. But because he is an athlete, or these are athletes or people who excel, high-profile athletes that excel at their position. You understand what I'm saying? To punish them, you know, from the league, you have to sit out the draft, you know. But again, my thing, I just can't agree with, okay, this person shouldn't be allowed to live. You know what I'm saying? Basically, what you're saying is like, you understand what I'm saying? And again, I sympathize with the victimized. Let's first and foremost do with the victim. Let's do something to help them in their situation and get to the root of the overall problem. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not just an NFL problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's
it's a systemic problem. It's not. I understand it's not just the NFL problem, but they're perpetuating the problem by allowing athletes, if they're good enough, to continue on like this with little to no ramification, or for teams to allow this to happen with little to no ramification. The thing is, this is where I disagree. This is where I disagree with you a little bit. I get what you're saying, that, you know, they shouldn't have their livelihood taken from them, this, that, and the other. But part of being an athlete at the NFL level is being a role model, okay? It's not just being out there and being an athlete as much as they want it to. What they do off field affects them as a whole. It affects the image of the team as a whole. It affects the image of the NFL as a whole. And this shit's supposed to be freaking written into their morality clause in their player agreement. But here's the thing, is that being an NFL player, an NBA player, an MLB player, being a professional athlete is a privilege. It's not a right.
Yeah.
This isn't a 9-to-5 job that we're talking about. There are more things that come along with this. There's a platform, whether you choose to use it for good or not, that comes along with it. Period. That is the nature of the beast. But pro athletes are a dime a dozen. You know, there's going to be 10 more Kareem Hunts down the road. I'm sorry. But what they're thinking about right now is just in the moment and getting that win. And there are some things that I can't just disconnect one from the other, and this is it. And part of it has to do with because of the message it's sending. Yeah. Now, if it wasn't such an issue with if it wasn't such an issue with Cap still being unemployed, if it wasn't such an issue for Eric Reed getting randomly drug tested 7 times in 2 months, random my ass.
Yeah. Now, Heather,
It
go on.
might be a different story.
Well, can I say something real quick?
But it's just, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's and this is not really addressing either you or Abdul. This is just putting it out there. That's what makes the situation worse. If there was no situation with Cap and Cap being held out the league and Eric Reed being harassed, if it was none of that was going on, the optics would still be bad, but they wouldn't be as bad. The optics become worse when somebody who committed a lesser crime, so to speak, which it wasn't a crime at all, but you know what I'm saying, who committed a lesser offense is being held out the league, but yet somebody who did this, which is like 10 times more despicable, is being allowed back into the league and getting multiple offers. Now, don't get me wrong. Part of Cap's reason was the girl he chose to get with and her stupid mouth. Like that should have been shut and kept shut while he was trying to sign with the Ravens, because he damn near had the contract locked up till she ran her mouth.
And I agree.
So that's part of the blame. But I agree completely that... Go ahead.
At the time Cap did what he did, I said it was hella suspect just because of the timing.
Yeah.
Because he hadn't done it up until he started to become irrelevant. And that was what I questioned to begin with.
Yeah.
But since then, we have seen him more than back up
everything.
All of that.
Yeah.
I mean, he is more than backed up everything, and he's lost everything because of it. But at the end of the day, you can't sacrifice your morals and your character for a job. Period. No matter what job.
And I understand that, but my thoughts on the Catholic situation is I'm not gonna look specifically at Kaepernick. Okay?
Yeah,
no. In terms of the kneeling. All right? In terms of the kneeling, I look at every single individual player in the league who should have taken that knee, regardless.
Right, who should have all been down beside him, for sure.
That's how you take the stand collectively, because you know what I'm saying, the parts are greater than the whole. If you understand what I'm saying, it's more players. You know what I'm saying, than it is owners. It's more players than it is managers. So I look at the players as a whole. Kaepernick, I was never really a fan, you know.
Oh yeah, me and you got into some arguments on this show about him.
I mean, I wasn't either, and I also didn't like. I mean, I'm the first one to say that I felt that his message got lost in the way he chose to deliver it, because he took 2 very hot button topics. And some people just couldn't see past one to see his message.
Exactly.
Right.
So, but I mean,
but I also,
still,
but I 100% respect the man for the stand he took. You know what I'm saying? And the sacrifice that he made. But I wish, again, as the NFL as a whole, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not talking about, you know what I'm saying, just the managers, but the players as well. You know what I'm saying? Would rally behind the issues, not the players, but you know what I'm saying? Again,
right.
Use that platform.
Yeah.
But that's the scary. But see, that's the scary thing about that platform, and that's the scary thing about that being that role model and playing these leagues is like Heather said. You do have that platform. You are a role model, whether you like it or not. And me personally, just knowing athletes and so on and so forth, and people who aspire to be at that level, it's hard because you're no longer a human.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? You're no longer allowed to make mistakes.
Yep.
You're no longer allowed to have a human reaction. You have to be cognizant and conscious of every single thing at every single moment, and that in itself is a challenge. You know what I'm saying? It makes life that much more difficult because there's so many more opportunities to be human. You know what I'm saying? So much more calling you back to that, making a mistake, and you know what I'm saying? You feel me? I don't look at these athletes as role models.
Yeah.
You know, I don't look at their platform. It's to me, It's what they do. It's not who they are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it swings on both ends of the spectrum.
But can we say it like this though? It is who you are, but sports and the platform reveals who you are, and you have to be cognizant of who you are is on camera 24/7, so to speak. You see what I'm saying? And I say that because of like this, because even as a star athlete, even when you're in your own bedroom with your significant other, what you do and say there can at any moment, depending on how depending on how let's say petty your significant other is, can anything that happens in that moment in that bedroom can now become public knowledge in a matter of 140 character tweet. You know, and so you do constantly have to be constantly aware of the.
Hold on. Just so we're not just putting it on the female or how despicable they choose to be in the bedroom.
Right.
It's not
right. No.
Other person.
Well, no, I wasn't putting it on that like that. I was just saying in general, like, you have to be aware to everything that you do, whether it be in the bedroom, in the privacy of your bedroom, or out in public. The cameras are on you 24/7, and unfortunately, when you sign up as an elite athlete, that's just the life you sign up for. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm sorry, like that's just how it is.
Let me ask you this though, real quick though, right? Let me ask you this, right? Say the NFL, NBA, MLB, say sports was not on TV,
right?
Okay, let's say sports, you know what I'm saying, had
there's no sports center, right.
You feel me? Let's say these guys were making, you know what I'm saying, $25, $30 an hour, maybe just a little bit, higher than the average pay grade. Okay?
Yeah.
My question then is would this light still be shined on the issue? You understand what I'm saying?
I think I understand your point completely, and to a certain extent on the spectrum, you are correct. Like their statue as athletes, and that goes back into what I was saying about the cameras are on you 24/7. Their statue as an athlete definitely plays more into what, if Kevin Joe Blow goes to jail for the next 6 to 8 months for beating his wife, nobody gonna hear about it except for Kevin's family, his wife's family, and maybe a couple people around the job. But if Tom Brady goes to jail for beating Giselle,
I didn't get arrested for putting hands on another person right now. I'm losing my job.
Yeah.
As a civilian, I am losing my job. If I go to jail or get arrested for putting my hands on any other individual, male, female, whatever, I am losing my job.
But can I rebut that though?
I'm probably losing my license.
Well, yeah, that's exactly the point I was going to make. You work in basically, to an extent, a governmental position, and because of that, yes, if you were to get into a physical altercation with anybody, it could cost you your job. But Joe Blow, Kevin, working at Buffalo Wild Wings, gets into it with his wife. He goes to jail for 6 months. As long as he did everything right with notifying his bosses and everything, 9 chances out of 10, Joe Blow Kevin still got a job working for Buffalo Wild Wings when he gets out. Because he doesn't have to tell his boss why he went to jail. So there's no subjection of the boss even knowing why he got locked up. You see what I'm saying? Like, I had a guy at Buffalo Wild Wings when I was working there, disappeared for 6 weeks, came back and still had his job because he notified the boss, hey, I'm in jail. I ain't getting out for like 6 weeks to a month. And the boss was like, all right, then I'll just take you off the schedule. And he still had a job when he got out. Never told his boss what it was for. It wasn't domestic violence, but he never told the bosses what it was for, never told the bosses what it was about, just said I was in jail. And so I understand what you're saying, but like there's some leeway when it comes to the average everyday person compared to an NFL athlete. NFL athlete doesn't have that leeway to be able to tell their boss, I just went to jail because I went to jail, and not give them that information, because 9 chances out of 10, some news outlet is going to pick up on why you ended up in the jail and is going to report it. So it's going to be found out one way or another. You see what I'm saying? Whereas with the average Joe Blow, that's not necessarily the case. And that's the only counterpoint I would say to the even the average person has to deal with losing their job over a domestic violence case. Because I know of employers, now once again, don't necessarily have a lot of respect for them, but I know of employers that even knew that they person got shipped up for domestic violence and They still had a job when they came back. Why? Because it's just the same reason why Kareem Hunt's getting offered. The guy was one of the best at his position in the company. So they weren't letting him go. They just gave him the time off without pay and brought him back when he was out. And so, and I believe...
I don't necessarily have a problem with that because Joe Blow doesn't have the platform and isn't looked at as a role model the way that Kareem Hunt is.
Right.
And is that right? That. Maybe not necessarily, but here's the thing. You're getting paid handsomely for that. I mean,
for that inconvenience,
you're getting paid a ridiculous amount of money. So if you can't even keep that shit under, like, control, and you know that you are now on this elevated platform, you know that you're looked at under a microscope now. If you can't even keep shit straight, then you really do have a problem. And this is the thing is I don't necessarily think they should be fired. There should be an automatic suspension, maybe even with pay while an actual investigation goes on. There should then be mandatory counseling and everything before it's even thought about bringing them back into the league to make sure, hey, this was a one-off incident. Yeah. Or if it wasn't a one-off incident, dudes need help. Instead of just leaving these guys out high and dry, get them the help that they fucking need.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree.
Quit freaking treating property that's good to buy and sell when it makes sense.
And let's also promote out there in the media how the league is helping them. The individual, the victim, and the victimized. But more importantly, let's promote how the league is rallying to help those victims.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Because again, it is the victims here. Is the reason why we have these situations, why we have these situations, why we understand why we're going through what we're going through as a society, as a world in general. You understand what I'm saying? So let's shine a light. We shine a light on what happened. You know what I'm saying? And we called attention to it. It's terrible, and we know this didn't go down. Now, let's shine that same light on how to help. You know what I'm saying? Some of the solutions that Heather was just talking about and that are being offered. Let's shine a light, you know what I'm saying? But not just the media.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Let's do it all collectively. Like, let me ask you a question. Like, we're comparing just, Kareem Hunt or Ben Roethlisberger or so on and so forth, you know what I'm saying, or Ray Rice, you know what I'm saying, the average Joe Blow, right? Now, say what happened with Joe Blow, he goes down for domestic violence and so on and so forth. What if, as a community, right, not the media, let them handle the sports and so on and so forth. What if, as a community, we got together to point out Joe Blow, hey, Joe Blow, you were wrong, right? Let's point that same as a community. We don't need the media to point here and saying to shine that light. We can do that as a community with all this technology we have going on. Let's point it on Joe Blow. And then let's say, hey, Joe Blow, we know you were wrong. You know what I'm saying? So now this is how we're going to help you. This is the help that you need. You know what I'm saying? We're not just going to tell you that you need to go do this, go do that, go do this. We're holier than now. This is what you need to do. No, we're going to grab you. You know what I'm saying? We're going to hug you, brother. You know what I'm saying? We're going to try to understand, and then we're going to take you to where you need to go. You understand what I'm saying? And that's where the disconnect for me is. You know what I'm saying? The disconnect for me is we shine a light on the issue and what happened, but we keep the light lit. You know what I'm saying? And we continue to pour on negativity on top of negativity on top of what was already a negative situation. The only way that hate can drive out hate, you know what I'm saying, is with love. Darkness, not drive out darkness. Only light can do that. You know what I'm saying? But we're spending so much time practicing darkness and continue pouring darkness in the darkness and screaming in the dark at each other that we don't even know how to point a light towards positivity, how to embrace each other. You know what I'm saying? We're so driven on how to hate each other. You know what I'm saying? For this reason and for that reason, as egregious as it might be, you understand what I'm saying? We're not trying to get to the healing. We're not trying to get to the root of the problem. We're just trying to pour more darkness on top of darkness. My question is, what if, as a community, we came together and shined the light on how to heal? You know what I'm saying? On the people that we need to heal. instead of, you feel me, just this all out attack, you know what I'm saying, on each other.
Yeah.
I get that. I totally get that. And I agree with you. But unfortunately, especially as far as domestic violence goes, there tends to be an extreme lack of accountability on the perpetrator's part. For whatever reason, they grew up in a home where, this more often than not, I can tell you that there was probably domestic violence going on in the home where they grew up in. So yeah. I understand and I have empathy for how they got from point A to point B. I do. Even being a victim myself, I can still have empathy, especially given my educational background, knowing that most perpetrators came from a home where this was present. Most perpetrators came from a home where this was normalized, and they don't know any different.
Yeah.
And so I can understand that. However, there still has to be a level of accountability. Oftentimes what I see is there is no accountability for them within themselves. And I don't even mean from the community or the NFL or, professional sports or entertainment. I mean within themselves. The taking accountability, owning what they did, and trying and wanting to make that difference going forward. Too many times, just let me finish this just 1 second and ask away. But too many times I see where they say the right things because they know that's what they're supposed to be saying. But then we see it fall back right into the same behavior. So, and, there really needs to be some sort of education that when these rookies come in, where this is also part of the education, is all of this, not just financial, but like personal and relationships wise and things that they need to be more aware of once they get to, to the pros, because the light is shined on them more than it is, so that they use this platform in a proper manner and that they're not held out like this for the shit that they've done wrong. Giving them a space for them to feel safe to say, hey, I came from this situation. I don't know how to change it. Can someone help me?
Yeah. Well, can I touch on one last?
Right now, that's not how it is.
Now, can I touch on one last thing before we do move on and actually talk some NFL, because that Saints Rams game was good and we kind of need to get to that. I understand what like I said before, I understand what both of you guys are saying, and from Heather's angle of there is a truth to there has to be a certain level of self-accountability in the sense of the athlete looking at oneself and saying, and there needs to be honest with you, I think this needs to come from within the league, not just from the owners as far as saying, we're not going to hire you or you got to sit out for a while or what I won't do them, but from the other players walking up to them and go, yo, bro, like let's look at this let's look at this mirror in the real time and see how you put yourself in this situation and how next time you won't put yourself back here again. Let another brother come up to him. You know what I'm saying?
You sound like me at work.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Well, no, it's the first when any
and what you do differently when you get out to keep you from getting back here.
It's a basic thing that, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, a lot of jails do a lot, not jails, but a lot of, correctional facilities do address it. And I think that within the NFL, like I said, the players need to be holding other players. I know, don't get me wrong, like I'm all for like, yo, dude, your business is your business, my business is my business. But if you are a mentor to that player, to said player, to Kareem Hunt, to Tyreek Hill, to any one of these guys that are getting in this style of trouble, if you are a mentor to them, then really, I hate to say it, there's a certain obligation within you to walk to them and ask those questions. What do we do to get ourselves here? What did we do wrong? And what can we not do later to make sure that this doesn't happen again?
And how can I help you?
Exactly. And how can I help you get there? Because there's a reality to it that and I'm not trying to cut you off, dude. I'm going to let you speak in just a second. But there is a certain level of personal accountability that has to be held by the player. That I agree. The media piling on does not make anything any better. You see these topics on shows like First Take, on shows like West Coast Bias, where sometimes we do get into the fact of piling on to these guys. But we do also I do like to take pride in the fact that we cover all angles of it. That's why we have so many different people in our hosting circle, because we like to cover all angles of it. Even though some of them haven't been on in over a year, Steve. But hopefully you'll be back eventually sometime soon. But really though, there is a certain level of accountability that has to be held by the player individually within himself in order for the help, regardless of where it comes from, regardless of if the league is providing it for him, regardless of if he's getting it outside of it. There's a certain level of accountability that I got myself here. I did this wrong, and how do I make sure that I don't end up back here? That these players need to be asking themselves, and I don't think that happens enough.
And not that I'm only sorry because I got caught bullshit. Not that, because that's what I have a problem with. If somebody really wants help, man, reach out. Yeah. I am more than willing to help in any way. Psychoeducation, anything you need, I'm here. Resources, all that there is, I am willing and able to help. But it's a person has to want and actually take that accountability first, and not just taking the accountability of, I'm sorry because I got caught.
Yeah. And Doual, your final thoughts before we get in this game?
I would say the only way to get to that accountability, again, is with continued, love. Yeah. And continue, embracing. And again, not just a one-time, one day, 1 month, hey, man, look, you were wrong, but it's okay, we're going to get you some help, and then leave that person there. It's a continue. You got to continuously check in on that person and continuously, shift and guide and motivate that negative mindset, those negative actions, that's how we got here, and how we got here. Let's answer that question, and how we keep from not going back to that place is a continued work. It's not just a 1 day thing. It's not just a 1 month thing. It's a lifetime achievement. It's a tireless work, and I think it starts with one person. It starts with yourself. Yeah, and we can go on from there.
Like MJ says, it starts with the man in the mirror. Go ahead.
Yeah, right. But can we have punishments that are proportional to the shit that they've actually done? Yeah. Because this is again, I go back to this. It's really the NFL and the message that they're sending that I have the problem with, more so than actually Kareem Hunt himself. Because when you've got players who are getting suspended for longer periods of time for smoking pot than they are when they've gotten arrested for domestic violence, that's an issue.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Well, you know what's not an issue in St. Louis or in LA right now? Getting to the Super Bowl. Because the Rams just beat the Saints 23-20 or 26-23 in overtime to get there, and get there for what I believe it would be the second or third time in my lifetime that they've gotten there, that I've seen the Rams get there.
Second, I think once in St. Louis, and I think this year. I think second.
Because it was a loss to the Patriots, and then there was this one, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then
if we had to make picks, my pick was going to be the Rams.
Okay.
For this reason, I think they are better on both sides of the ball, right? Individually.
Yeah.
I think coaching. I think the Saints were a better coach team, but not on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
Right? And the Rams, you feel me? The Rams won that game defensively. They came up with stops that they needed just long enough for that offense to get going and eventually win that game. But hey, it was
defense
a beautiful
championship
game. Yep. Exactly. It was a beautifully played game. I thought the Saints were really going to pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
But slowly but surely, the Rams they just kept coming. They just kept coming, and that defense, that Rams defense, is pretty astonishing.
For real, Sue,
Well,
Donald,
I
and
just think
boys.
it's amusing. Yeah, I just think it's amusing with how livid Sean Payton got over the missed call for for offensive pass interference after they didn't call the face mask on Goff.
Yeah.
Or, they didn't call that defensive call, which, I mean, give me a break. Like, really? You totally just lucked out by not getting that face mask call, and now you want to freaking whine and cry and jump up and down and because they didn't get an offensive pass interference, which I'm sorry, but at that point in the game, it's not going to happen anyway. They're just not going to make that call. It's going to have
and there
to
was
be,
a lot of miscalls.
Well, yeah, and this is, I mean, I've said this time and time again, and it gets frustrating when there's shitty refing, but a game should never be left up to the refs. Period. It shouldn't. And if you're leaving it up to the refs, then you didn't leave enough out on that field, as far as I'm concerned.
And that's exactly what they did. They left it out on the field. And, oh, my God, like, at this point, I can say this. The Saints, I picked the Saints. I'll be honest with you. I don't pick against Brady. I'm sorry. I don't hate me if you want to, but I don't pick against Brady. So I had Saints and whatchamacallit on the YouTube videos that I do, the instant reaction videos. I picked Brady and the Saints to go. The Rams, on the other hand, are a team that, like Abdul said, the balance, defensively to offensively. Don't get me wrong. Their offense is just slightly worse than the defense, and I just mean like they're just slightly worse. Because to be honest with you, as much talent as they have on that offense, love the Saints to death. This should have been a 35-20 blowout. Like this should have been a game that the Rams took off from the beginning and never looked back, which is why I give a lot of credit to the Saints defense for playing as well as they did against that team with all those weapons. Because C.J. Anderson and Todd Gurley looked like they were about to run over the league last week. And this week...
They look like something straight out of Madden.
They did.
Let's be honest there.
So those two teams going... Go ahead.
I still hate Aqib Talib as much now that he's with the Rams as I did when he was with the Broncos, just because he is still like the same piece of shit attitude-wise. But and I just can't stand him. I mean, I really can't. But they really they played one hell of a game. And I'm really glad that the kicker was able to kind of redeem himself there at the end, because he had missed one earlier in the day, and probably, I imagine, would have gotten fired after today's game had they not won.
Shoot. But man,
Good job! Even more wide receiver and catching balls. You literally you're on the field for one thing. You better do it, especially in a playoff or championship game.
Oh yeah, amen to that, man. But let's talk about real quick before we go to commercial break. Let's talk about the playoffs as a whole this year, which have actually been better than in previous years. Like, yeah, you kind of knew the Rams were going to make the Super Bowl, but you knew that New Orleans wasn't going to go out slowly. But there was a certain point you didn't necessarily know if either one.
Not after the Philadelphia game, especially.
Yeah, but then you look at it and it's like, there was a good time during each one's previous game in which you genuinely thought that they might not be there at all. The Rams very well could have lost to the Cowboys. The Saints very well could have lost to the Eagles. It's been one of those matchups. The only round in which I really saw anybody really get super blown out was the very first game with the Colts when they played the Texans, and then the Colts getting their ass whipped by the Chiefs. Those are the only two games that have truly been blowouts.
The Colts had no business playing the Chiefs. Let's be honest.
They won the wild card game, so they earned their right to be there. But I feel what you're saying. They weren't really on par with them.
Olympics, and then But I don't know if you saw this meme, but it was something that was hella funny that it was talking about Philadelphia fans, and it's like it shows a picture, all other NFL fans, team wins Super Bowl, quarterbacks to go, Philadelphia, team wins Super Bowl, our quarterback has a bigger dick than everybody else. So it's like this.
Oh heck no! But bravo to Nick Foles, bro. Like bravo to him. You bigger dick than you. But bravo to Nick
I really
Foles.
didn't need to know that. But
You know,
I'm glad that y'all have your priorities straight over there.
Well, that would explain the condition that Philadelphia is in. No. Anyway, but big time, these games have blown my mind. But let's go ahead. Let's take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the return of the Boogie Man that happened on Friday night and what it means for tomorrow's game against that show down there in Southern California for the defending champion Golden State Warriors. You're listening to West Coast Bias right here on 4 Aces Presents Radio Network on Spreaker.com. Peace.
Hey,
After
listener,
Friday's
Dutch
game,
here from Voice from the Underground, the podcast. My co-host and I want to invite you to check out our little corner of the podcast verse. At Voice from the Underground, we talk about all the crazy happening around us and try to make a little bit of sense out of the nonsense with little to no results. If the idea of hearing three semi-intelligent, outspoken nerds talk about politics, social issues, current events, sports, movies, pretty much anything that we decide to talk about because, well, it's our show, appeals to you, grab your shovel and come on down to the underground, and then consult a qualified psychotherapist. Find us wherever you get your podcasts, just not where you buy your weed.
Voice from the Underground.
Man brain. You know you want it. You know you need it. Let me introduce you to our team of audio professionals, 100% committed to giving you the greatest extreme comedy podcast of all time.
What's SPH? I'm so super cute.
Send me your orgasmic release videos.
You can get it rootin'. You can get it tootin'. You can get it doing doughies in your yeet. Mi nombre es Tío Yeti. And you just laugh at little Hank. I ain't gonna pretend I is fresh. But looks like you might like that.
And most importantly, I'm Skullfucker. Rah! Go to manbrainpodcast.com to get orally violated. Manbrain out.
So, what's up? Steve Fingerstyles here, the host of the podcast spelled DA, of course. Tune in each and every week to hear what pisses me off, what angers me, what I make fun of, and of course, my crazy rants. I also have incompetent co-hosts, cool guests, and a silent producer that sucks. So what more do you need from a podcast? You can listen on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud, and the Pod Bros Network. Peace.
All right, guys. So we kind of already started the discussion off air without y'all. So we'll kind of pick it up on air with y'all after those promos there.
We really should have outtakes of our off-air conversations because some of our best shit actually comes when we're talking during commercial breaks.
Very, very true. Very, very true. So, okay. So we were talking Boogie Cousins, his impact. I think he definitely makes the Warriors a different team. Not necessarily in, they're so much better than everybody else, but I definitely think he makes them a different and more dangerous team because he gives them something that they never had, which was a low post presence. So, Heather, I'll let you kick this conversation off, and Doual, you can follow up right behind her.
Well, I was pretty upset that I spent the majority of Boogie's debut getting updates while sitting in traffic on Friday night. On my way home from work in Fairfield, which really sucked. But I did pay attention to the game. I caught a little bit of it when I got home. You know, I've been the first to say that I was very hesitant on jumping on the Boogie train or drinking the Boogie Kool-Aid, but I think Friday I may have at least started sipping on that Boogie Kool-Aid because it was a hell of a debut. Now, granted, I'm still a little hesitant. I'm not gulping. I'm sipping because this was his first hit. Because, I mean, having lived here in Sacramento through what was the epic failure of Boogie Cousins with Kings, you know, we're very aware of his attitude and the issues that he had, especially while here in Sacramento. Some of the things that he said that I definitely
You have reached the voicemail box of 510. At the tone, please record your voice message.
Okay, I guess Abdul's going to listen to a little bit of the show right quick.
But, you know, so I was very skeptical on what his big personality would mean to the Warriors. I mean, we have one big personality, not want him any other way. But especially after some of the KD earlier this season, I started to get a little bit more concerned. But, you know, one of the things that I know that the Warriors have going for them that I'm sorry, but the Kings didn't, the attitude stuff and the fact that they got rid of coaches, that shit wouldn't even be entertained. Period. That Kerr is not going to let that happen. Lacob's not going to let that happen. Whole front office isn't going to. It's just the players aren't going to stand for it either. They have so much respect for Kerr. They're going to have to keep that person is going to have to deal with the rest of the team. Yeah. Those players have mad respect for them. Players written like pop, like old school coaches that really earned it. But for Kerr being as new as he is as a coach, I think people forget that, you know, he's going into his, fifth season, first championship season, his first coaching experience, period. He had been a GM, but front office is now coaching on court. But this was one of the instances where that championship mentality really translated from him being a player into him being a coach. And I think that those players have all the money for him because he has that amazing background. I mean, the man played with Jordan. Let's be. I kind of
reached the voicemail box of 510-459-03. When you are finished recording.
But as for what you were saying, like when we were off air about you just kind of wish he hadn't fouled out. Yeah. Honestly, I think that was a perfect to his debut. It wouldn't have been Boogie any other way. Yeah. And at least it wasn't like in the first quarter that he fouled out. Yeah, would it have been better if he hadn't fouled out? Probably. But it's not like it's a playoff game. Yeah. I mean, I just honestly, it kind of was fitting for, and I think he had a good laugh about it. So he has the hold. So cautiously.
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry, I'm trying to add Abdul's phone call, and this thing is, and Skype is just not liking me right now. He keeps telling me to call him and add him. Hold on.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, Boogie helps them from the center, which is something that they didn't have before. Their low post guys were like 28th in the league. You know, between Looney and all the guys that they were rotating in. And 28th in the league in points scored, averaging like 7 points a game and 4 games. And 6 rebounds in just 15 minutes of play.
Yeah.
So, you know, if he can do that in just minutes, imagine when he was playing 20, 25 minutes a game. You know, imagine what we'll be getting.
Right. The voicemail box of 59032. When you are finished recording, you may hang up or press pound for more options.
So I ended the call on that one. Okay, go on ahead,
Heather. Interesting as he gets, because I mean, this is just so. I mean, for him to play the way that he did that night in limit after being off with a drum, it's, it's amazing. So, again, I'm going to come back at almost thing in that Peyton is still ripping the missed pass interference calls. Like, dude, they missed a bunch of calls, and it wasn't just in favor of one team or the other, and I totally have ADD. Really, can we not? Maybe the rest. So back to Boogie. I'm glad to see him fitting in with the team. Hopefully this will punch some new life into them, especially after some of the troubles that they had in the beginning of the season. I'd really like to see all that drama kind of left behind and, moving forward. In some ways, I wish that they would get some of these contracts and shit handled sooner rather than later, because I think that the longer some of those things hang out in the balance, that's what's contributed to some of these issues. But I also understand from a management perspective of why they're not doing that right now. But still, I think that that's part of what the issue was, scuffle. So, and I can understand that. It's hard.
All right. I'm glad we got you. All right, go ahead.
It's a hard thing to deal with when you don't know if dude next to you is going to be playing with you next season or not. You don't know if the team that you have in place right now that, is looking to win, to do a three-peat, that if that person who's got your back today is going to have your back tomorrow. And that's kind of what it feels like sometimes. So I can understand a little bit where some of that came from, especially when these guys' egos get involved. And it's, because they know, even with as much as all of them are superstars, it really is still about the team. So, but yeah, Boogie, keep on keeping on, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes from this, because I think that if Friday night was any indication, I'll be gulping that Kool-Aid, not just sipping it before long.
And Doual, your thoughts on Boogie Cousins and his return on Friday night to the NBA and to the starting lineup for the Warriors, or not return, but his insertion.
Oh yeah, the hell of a game. Big time. It was 14 points in 15 minutes. 6 boards, 3 for 4. What I especially liked was how they utilized him. Steve Kerr was able to bring him out to the perimeter, and then draw that 5-man out. Something I kind of saw happening. And then with the fact that he goes 3, 4, and 3, now you got a 5-man on the perimeter. It's going to open up so many driving lanes. And so, I liked how they did that. But then also, so they went in the low block a few times, and that's something I think that the Warriors desperately need. Someone who can go to the low block and get an easy bucket. So when there's going to be matchups like on the Anthony Davis or Karl Anthony Towns or something like that, where he's going to go into the low block and he's going to be utilized effectively, depending on his or possibly a DeAndre Jordan, a rim protector, a Joel Embiid. These are guys who can't really guard him, or who can't really they can guard him on the perimeter because he's not as quick right now. Just all that coming. They can contain him out there, but the fact that you have to pull them out, and they're no longer doing what they can do best, which is protect the rim. Well, now Draymond Green has easy layups. Kevin Durant has easy layups, and Steph Curry, his game is open that much more, because now not only do you have to honor him as a shooter, a pull-up shooter, but you also you get caught in between him and his ability to go to the lane. So they utilize him very effectively, utilize his minutes very effectively. I think it's just as much as a credit to the coaching staff and the training staff to be able to get him back before the All-Star break and get him to next year. So as he continues to progress and ingrains himself in the system, it can work out as long as he's tempered amongst his teammates. I don't know if the Warriors could survive. I mean, I think they'll be okay, but another blow up like they had between Draymond and Kevin Durant at the beginning of the year, that's not something I don't think that the franchise can handle. Like, as long as Boogie can keep his negative attitude in check, and channel that energy and be feisty and aggressive, I think it can be nothing but benefit and help.
Now, and here's where I agree with you about the negative attitude, but here's where I believe he will, and this is why I'm so confident in the fact that he will. Is just one particular factor. First and foremost, this is the first time in Boogie's career in which he's ever had a legit chance at getting to the NBA Finals or winning an NBA championship. So I think that this particular run, means more to him than any other season before. Like, it's just emotionally, internally, I believe it means more to him than it has any other time before. Because, like I said, this is the first legit shot. No matter how good those Kings team were to potentially make the playoffs, no matter how good that Pelicans team was last year when he was there, nobody ever expected either one of those teams any of those teams to ever win a chip. Not anytime soon. We all knew, you're right. We all knew Boogie needed more. The team needed more than just Boogie. But this time he steps into a situation where, let's be honest, that entire team can look at him and be like, we don't need you to win a chip. Yeah, it's nice to have you. But, they can genuinely look at him and be like, we don't need you. So because of that, I think that his attitude is going to see a twist and a change because every other team that he's been on, well, with an exception for the Pelicans last year, it's been like, Boogie, you're the guy. You're it. We need you to lead us to the promised land. Coming into this situation, we're just like, look, dude, we just need you to kind of do a little something. Do more than what these other guys are doing.
It's similar. It's similar to the KD situation, just not the caliber necessarily and the type of player that KD is. But that's, how KD was basically in Oklahoma City. He was the dude. Everything was on him to win, and that's one of the things he said he loved about coming to the Warriors was he didn't have that same stress on him. It wasn't all on him anymore. And that there's something relieving about that when you realize that the weight of the entire team and how far you go isn't just on your shoulders. Because last time I checked, this is still a team sport. So it shouldn't just be on one player. So now they're both in an environment where it's not just on one player. So yeah, I'm interested to see again, and I agree with Doual is that as long as he can keep that attitude in check, I think that this can be a wonderful marriage.
Yes, he can. And here's the scariest part for me. Is that there were some that were saying, and I don't think it will be. From the look of him last night, I don't think this will. That man's going to free agency, and he's looking for the max, period. So unless one of the core four leaves, Clay, Draymond, Durant, or Steph, Boogie's unfortunately the odd man out unless he just wants to take another $5 million contract to come back and play for the Warriors again and win another chip. Like really, that's what it boils down to. But there's odds are that if he kind of struggles a little bit through this year and doesn't get to the point where people, the only part that I disagreed with this theory that I'm presenting is that I think a lot of people are going to be focusing on what he's like come playoff time. I think everybody fully understands it's going to take a couple of months for him to get back up to full speed and learn how to play their game. I think everybody's going to be looking at what Boogie does during playoff time. Now, Boogie goes 20-10 throughout the entire playoffs and is a huge cog in us winning a chip. Then I think he's definitely getting max. He's out. As long as if we re-sign the other four, he's out. We're going to be looking for a new center. But on the off chance that maybe we still win the chip, but he's not necessarily that big of a part of it, he didn't really shine and isn't looking at getting that max, there's a solid chance he might come back on a low-end deal with us for another year. Which is just scary
he's
for the
look
rest of
way better than every other team with 2 rings versus 1.
Yeah, very, very much so.
And a full season under his belt versus just a partial season and the postseason.
Yep.
Because that is one thing that he does. I mean, granted, that's a double-edged sword. That could work out really well, or something could happen and it not work out well. It just all depends on where his mentality is at and where he is right now in his life. Like, for KD, it wasn't necessarily all about the money. KD's made that money. Yep. His next contract will probably again it might be more about the money. It just depends, unless he decides to stay put, what have you. It's like, what do you want more for your legacy? I mean, I'd rather put up as many rings as I possibly can and then maybe take another huge payout and know that I have solidified my place in basketball history.
And that's it's the dead truth.
He's already tied for LeBron for how many rings he's got.
Who, KD? No, if he wins one this year, he'll be tied. When they win one this year, he'll be tied. He wasn't with us for the first one, and he hadn't won one before he got to us. So he's got 2.
Right, but he's won 2. Yeah, I thought Bron only had 2.
No, Bron has 3.
You have 3?
Yeah. The one against us in Cleveland was his 3rd. He won 2 in Miami and then 1 in Cleveland. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. It was the final one that he had the issue with in Miami. Right. I look at it and you're dead right. Like, this man, this team, to be honest with you, there's really no reason for them to break up. And the thing with it is if Steph ain't re-signing right now, but Draymond and Clay are due to re-sign extensions. If everybody kind of goes, all right, you know what? What would be hella funny and won't ever happen is if Draymond, Clay, Steph all went to Lego and went, you know what, dude? Look, let's restructure our contracts. Take about 5-10 a year off of each one. Let's bring back Boogie. Like if you take 5 or 10 from each one of us, you can give him his 25. Let's go get Boogie.
Any team in the NBA were to do it, it would be this team.
Yeah.
It would be this team that I could not ever see any other team and their players ever doing this, but I could definitely see this team doing something like that. If they really believed in him that much and felt that he was that integral of a piece of this whole puzzle that they've put together, and the management is going to want as big of a team going into next season, because next season's supposed to be their first season in their new arena. Yeah. And you don't like the Kings and throw up a really shitty first season in your new arena, especially not after, you don't want to be at the top and then hit the bottom. You don't want that new arena curse, Yeah. So, I mean, I could see that happening. I can see management and ownership doing what it's going to take. I mean, they already said after the first season they would pay the tax, the penalty, the fine, what have you, when it came down to it, because they wanted to see what they wanted to see what they built stay together. Yeah. And unfortunately, the greater that this team gets and the greater that its individuals become, the more expensive it gets to keep them together.
Oh yeah. So,
but
okay.
It depends on what's more important to the player, their legacy or the money.
Winning
and
chips
for players like Steph and possibly KD, who have huge, commercial success and lots of endorsements, that paycheck for the team almost becomes secondary in some ways. So it's not like they can't make up taking a little bit less money to play in other areas.
Very much so. All right, so Doual, before you kick off into this for a second time, let's deal with what we all want to talk about. Tomorrow night, the big matchup happening down in L.A. I have yet to hear, is LeBron James supposed to be playing tomorrow night?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I haven't heard
okay.
Still out with his pulled groin.
So let me say this. I'm going to say this. Not you, Doual, and I'm going to state that straight from the beginning before I make this statement. Not you. Okay? But to all the Lakers fans out there on NBA Clutch Points Facebook fan page that's been talking that we're talking all that shit during Christmas Day. Oh, look what we did to the Warriors without LeBron. Oh, look at us. We're so savage. Look at us, dude. Lakers all day. We winning the chip this year. All that shit. I'm going to see what y'all reaction going to be tomorrow. Because I'm going to give it to you. If tomorrow, without Bron, they beat this fully loaded Warriors team, I will have to give LA their props on top of props. These young guys step up for the big games. But if they go and get blown out by 30, these boys just need to quiet their mouths. Just slow it down and stop.
Here's where I can't help but laughing about this whole situation. Because it was the Dubs game where Bron got hurt. So, you may have won the battle, but you lost the fucking war.
Yeah.
Because
you're going to need him to beat the Warriors.
Your entire team right there, and now Lonzo's out.
Yep.
So, they got lucky. It's not a break, but a high ankle sprain and sometimes can actually be worse than a break. Can take longer to heal than a break.
Yeah.
I mean, Steph knows that better than anybody.
No shit. Well, dude, your thoughts on tomorrow night's game? You got any thoughts there?
I mean, there's, if the Lakers are able to win, right?
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, it's a matchup thing. Yeah. It's a coach. It's more of a coaching thing. This is where coaching comes in and having knowledge of your opponent, their system, and what they like to run. And I think that's what you saw in that first game.
Yeah.
The Lakers came out. They knew they had a game plan, and they executed that game plan to a T. And not only that, another thing you have to understand about the Warriors is that they are getting everybody that shot this year. Maybe not necessarily night in, night out, but 90% of the games that they're going to play this year, they're going to get the team's best shot.
Yeah.
And so what I saw that night, you know what I'm saying, I saw a Lakers team playing at a much different level. They played at a much higher level. And then when LeBron went down, it kind of got rocky, but they were able to pick it back up and sustain that high level for that game.
Yeah.
Now, after that, they lost, I think, the next 6 out of 7 or something like that, and they're starting to, they beat Oklahoma City the other night, and they lost to Houston last night. So it's been a struggle without LeBron because he provides them the leadership, the stability, and a sense of presence, on the court that they need to play at that, level. If they play tomorrow night again at that level and are able to beat the Warriors, well then it's a rivalry thing, because they're playing again to a much high. They played to such a high level that night, and again, not that they haven't played to that level since that game, but they haven't. It really hasn't been there. They haven't won the games that they were supposed to win even without LeBron. So, again, you're looking at the Warriors, you're looking at the champ, so on and so forth. You want to play at that extra level. And then, to have a Luke Walton who served on that Warriors staff for so long and knows what's going on over there so well, he's able to, provide a game plan through, game film and so on and so forth that says, hey, this guy likes to do this, we want to take away this. DeMarcus Cousins presents them a different kind of a matchup. But I think they'll be able with the gauge that they have, they'll be able to match up well. JaVale McGee is JaVale McGee. Tyson Chandler has been a nice fill-in, but with the Zubac guy, he's really coming along nice. So I just look forward to a good game. It can go either way, honestly. The Lakers could win, or the Warriors could blow them out. It's all a matter, for me personally, it's all a matter of at the level of play the two teams bring. Is it going to be a game where the Warriors just go through the motions like, oh, it's another game, we can take the team at any time, let's just kind of go out here and play basketball, and the Lakers going to be like, oh, it's the Warriors, let's go out here and play some ball, we got to beat the team, with or without LeBron. what type of energy, what type of game are the two teams going to play, in this regular season match.
And I can definitely get behind what you're saying, because one of the things that I said to one of the lovely fans on the Clutch Points site was, I told him, I said, it's not a matter of it's Boogie. Oh, the Warriors are short Boogie, so that's why they lost. No, the Lakers came out and put up a hell of a game. I gave them all the credit in the world. They came out ready to play against the two-time defending champs, and the Warriors came out kind of slumpish and didn't do what they.
How can you be down a player who's never actually stepped foot on the court for your team in the first place?
Thank you. So wait a minute though. But I said, but I did bring up the point that I said, understand this. If you look at what one of the main issues was in that game, it shouldn't be an issue if Boogie's back for the next matchup. Zubov's not going off for 16, 17 points and 12 rebounds against Boogie in the post. He could do that against Kevin Looney. He could possibly even do that against Draymond Green. He's a pretty skilled guy. But he's not doing that against Boogie. You know what I'm saying? That 16 is maybe 8. Those 12 rebounds are maybe 9, maybe 10. The Boogie effect is real. With Boogie on the floor, people have to respect the Warriors' center position. They have to now. They can't just write it off like they have for so many years. No offense to Andrew Bogut, who was an excellent rim protector, but couldn't score for shit, really. And Jaja Pachulia, same thing. Excellent rim protector, great rebounder, couldn't score for shit. This is the first time in this dynasty in which the Warriors have actually had a legit scorer at the center position. Somebody that has to be taken seriously. So because of that, will he make a difference moving forward? Of course he will. But was him not being there the reason why we lost? No, I agree with Heather all day. No, nowhere near it. But him not being there did have an effect on that Lakers game. Because of the fact that that's where they dominated the Warriors at the most, was at that center position. You got this kid, ain't nobody heard of him before, Zubac or Zubov or whatever his name is, and he out here dominating the likes of Kevin Looney and the likes of Jordan Bell, etc. I think that overall, these two squads, I hope they don't meet in the first round. I want the Lakers to get a little bit of gumption underneath them the first couple of games, so we get that Lakers squad that showed up game one. You know what I'm saying? And when we play them in the playoffs, that Lakers squad that's ready to give us their best shot. But tomorrow, I'm not expecting much out of it. I'm not. No Rondo, no Bell, no LeBron. I'm not really expecting much out of the Lakers squad. If they even challenge the Warriors, it's a win for the Lakers. Like, it's not a win in the win column, but it's a moral victory for the Lakers. Because real talk, they shouldn't be in this game. They shouldn't be in this game at all. The Warriors are at full strength and they're clicking on all cylinders. They shouldn't even be in this game. And they're like I said, they're missing their starting point guard, they're missing their backup point guard, and they're missing their star player. This should be easy. But that being said, the Warriors do have a tendency to play down to the level of their competition at times. So let's hope that this isn't one of them.
Yeah,
that they take the rest of the games for the rest
They do tend to have that problem.
Yep.
Like, they always seem to play better and do much better when they're considered an underdog.
Yep.
Then it's odd that way. It's almost, in some ways, it feels like they're bored. Like, it's not enough of a challenge. So it's kind of half-assing it. And not to change the subject, but I do have to give a major shout-out to USC football and, again, the LA Rams. 3 USC football alumni on that Rams team going to the Super Bowl. So shout-out to my alma mater. Thank you.
Yep.
Sorry.
Two unhappy Rams going to the Super Bowl because they lost the cow this year. But I won't touch that one. Sorry, man. This is literally the first time as far back as I can remember Cal beating USC.
Yeah.
So I have to gloat over it for as long as I can.
Here, and I don't know if you know this or not, but here's to add insult to injury. Cal beat USC on USC's homecoming day. So that was a huge game.
Yeah, it was.
But, and I mean, we all know I've struggled with this. I grew up a Cal fan.
Yeah.
But, man, there's something when you go across that stage at graduation, it really, like, enforces that whole alumni thing. And I got accepted to Cal. But USC had the type of program I needed at the time that I needed that program. So, it's not to say I don't still have like mad love for Cal, and I'm going to cheer for Cal in every other way possible. It is hard when they play each other because I'm torn. But I just try to look at it, for me, it's like a no-lose situation instead of a no-win situation, because no matter what, a team that I like is going to win. So, but yeah. So,
so since we kind of did transition over to college football, Doual, your thoughts, my friend, on the ass whipping that was handed to Alabama this year by the Clemson Tigers in that national title game. Holy shit.
One team came out ready to play, and another team didn't. It was really that simple. I think Clemson was underrated in this game. And they were the underdog because, it's Bama. They've been in the title game for the past 19 years. Nick Saban, their recruits, they get A1 recruits year in and year out. I mean, Alabama is the cream of the crop football program in college football right now. But Clemson just proved themselves to be like they ain't no joke. And I think football is a game, that comes down to not just execution but game plan and strategy. It comes into effect a lot more than, say, baseball and basketball. Basketball is a lot more execution, because you don't really have too many plays and so on and so forth. Football, you got so many more different plays and so many different strategies, and you have to execute at such a higher level that, that's basically what Clemson did. It didn't matter what was being called. They went up there and they executed. And then Alabama just wasn't able to do the same. So, was Clemson a better team? That day they were. Player for player, probably not. But collectively, when you come out the film room and you come together with a strategy and you're able to execute that strategy, and most importantly, your team comes and they bring it on the field, I don't think Alabama was really bringing it that day. Thought it was just another championship game for them. They can go through the motions. They can go out there and just, play 4 quarters and come out with a victory. And that wasn't it. You have to bring it, especially
exactly what it looked like.
Mm-hmm.
Go on, Heather.
I said that's exactly what it looked like. It looked like they came into that situation expecting it just to be basically how a lot of championship games have been for them, which is just another game. And I don't think that I don't think that they prepared seriously enough or took Clemson seriously enough. And it showed. I mean, it showed big time. It showed big time. People it was on at the hall when I was at work, and they couldn't understand why I was cheering so hard for Clemson. Mind you, to remind everybody, I lived in Georgia for like 3 or 4 years, and about a year and a half, almost 2 years of that was in Columbus, Fort Benning, Georgia, which is basically on the border of Alabama. And there are more Bama and Auburn fans in that area than there are Georgia fans. And when I lived there was the time that Auburn won the championship. And, I saw Cam Newton play. I actually met Cam Newton several times. I think he's as much of a piece of shit in person as he portrays himself to be, especially when he was in college. Now, granted, I know he was young and he was full of himself, and it showed. But so I was really excited because, first of all, 2020 USC starts off their season with a game against Bama. There's also Oklahoma and their issues with Bama. So it was kind of nice. And I'm not a Saban fan. Yeah. I do not think he is the football god. I think he's a douche. I just think it's worked out really well for him. But I haven't been happy with any players that the Raiders have gotten from any fucking team that he's coached. So, Jamarcus Russell. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I thought OMalley was a good kid, but when he wasn't happy, it showed.
Yeah,
he played like it, and I'm sorry, but the kid is soft.
Yeah,
he is soft. After that game against Cincinnati, where he just got punked and didn't do shit about it.
Yeah, he's
soft. And I wish him all the best, although I wish it wasn't with the Cowboys because I can't. But I haven't been, I mean, then there's Rolando McClain. I mean, the epic fail that was him. It just, there's a bunch of ways that it's like he doesn't instill ethics and integrity and morals into his players as he's coaching them. Yeah. It's very apparent that they don't give a shit about these things. Look at what happened with Reuben Foster. And I'm not even talking about what happened once he was in the NFL. The kid was kicked out of the combine because don't you know who the fuck I am?
Yeah. That's some of that cockiness that comes from going to Alabama in general. I can admit that there is a lot of cockiness, natural cockiness that comes out of these players that play for Bama. But it is because of the mystique of Bama. Like shit, they didn't been in 10 title games in the past 15 years.
But it's also because that's the attitude of their coach.
Right.
It is his attitude, and he perpetuates that attitude. He fosters that attitude. He embraces that attitude. I will give them. They are one of the best defensive teams but the SEC in general is a defensive powerhouse. Yeah. Just like to me, the Pac-10 is usually it's been considered a quarterback making factory. Mm-hmm. But it's just we have those different strengths.
Except for Mark Sanchez, we don't claim Mark Sanchez anymore.
Well, I mean,
Pac-12 doesn't claim Mark. Exactly.
The only Mark Sanchez I know is the dude who does my tattoos. So that is the only Mark Sanchez in my book.
And this is coming from, and this is a UFC fan or USC fan.
Exactly. Yeah. That makes it even worse because not only is he a disgrace to the Pac-12, but he's a disgrace to my alma mater, Mr. Butt Fumble.
But all right, so one last thing that I will touch on that neither of you guys touched on.
Still had it, Dr. Pat couldn't get one. Riddle me that.
Is it me or did Trevor Lawrence look like Ronnie Sunshine Bass from Remember the Titans? Like straight up real, and when I talked about him on that ass whooping, when I talked about him on Double K's classroom, you can go back and listen to the episode. When I talked about him, I said that. I said the way he looked throwing strikes down the field reminded me of that scene in Remember the Titans when Ronnie Bass is like, "Let him through." Let him through. He's like, "You sure, man?" And he dips him. He dips that defender. He's just looking back at him like, "What? What? I told you."
When they showed that boy on the sideline when he took his helmet off, I started scratching my head. I'm like, wait a minute. Oh, like that really happened? Like, he was just in the movie. That boy, all right.
Oh man, it's hey, you fight the truth, and that kid was looked the part, was the part. Trevor Lawrence, congratulations to you for being like one of I believe the third since he went back to Alabama, the third true freshman to beat Nick Saban led team ever, and you beat him on the biggest stage of them all.
You know, Bama had to been on the sidelines going, "Where's Forrest Gump when you need it?"
I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
Oh man. But all right, y'all. So let's wrap this up like this.
I guess a clown on Bama is a good day.
It's a good day, right? We got a 7-0 lead right now for the Patriots in Kansas City. We're about mid-second quarter. How do y'all see this game playing out? Dual, kick us off. Heather, follow up behind him, and then we'll wrap it up.
I think Kansas City will get it together. The fact that it's just 7-0 right now in the third, and New England's got it and they moving, but it's just 7-0. Gives Kansas City hope. You're talking about a team with offense that can put points up in bunches. So it's going to take a halftime together. But the way they're keeping them in this game, I think is saying a lot right now. So as soon as Kansas City is able to get into the lock, make some adjustments to their offense and really get it going, I think they'll be able to put up some numbers and win this game. So I got Kansas City.
All right, Heather.
Okay, well, I feel like this is the 2016 elections all over again because there is no good choice for me in this. This is a lose-lose, no-win situation. I hate both teams equally, except for I have to say because of how much absolute disdain I have for Tom Brady, I am actually maybe low-key pulling for the Chiefs, but this is going to – I think this is a long game. I think this is going to be a defensive game because as we can see, it's second quarter and it's still only 0-7. Yeah. So I think this is going to be a long, close game. I see even just another similar to what happened with the Rams in the Saints. I can see maybe the Patriots leading all the way up to a certain point, and then
the Chiefs pulling it out.
Gonna be the Chiefs. And here's also the thing, is because, granted, I mean, New England, they're used to snow and cold and all that. They're not used to Kansas City elevation and Kansas City cold. They're not. Nobody is. Yeah. I lived there. I was not for sure. But I see this. I see this slowly in the second half turning the tides and it going more to the Chiefs. Maybe that's just some wishful thinking. But again, to me, this is like a no-win situation. It's like trying to pick the lesser of two evils. And Kansas City is just evil and Tom Brady's more evil. So there's I guess Kansas City's the lesser of two evils, but they also have Tyreek Hill. And I could go on and on and on about this and why I hate both to you so much. But I'm still here watching the game, so something is obviously wrong with me. Because I'm still watching.
Oh, no.
I mean, I can hate it so much as I do, but I'm still sitting here watching the game because, to be honest, I really thought that this was going to be the game to watch today. Yep. And I think it's also why this is it would have made more sense to have this the early game, but I think that this had a bigger primetime draw than the Rams-Saints game, and I think this is why they're playing the late game, because they're both all teams are in the same time zone today.
Right.
So, to me, with the cold, it didn't make sense to have this game be the last game when the Saints are playing in the Superdome. Doesn't matter. They could have played at fucking midnight or 7 o'clock in the morning. It wouldn't have mattered. But here, the later it gets, the colder it's getting. Yeah. But it's Arrowhead. I've been there. It's a shitty stadium, but I mean, it is one of the loudest in. It rivals Seattle. Yep. So. And I know I've got Kansas City Chiefs fan friends that still live in Kansas. So I know that they're sitting there. I would altogether, I think, have an easier time with Kansas City winning this game. I don't want to see Tom Brady go to another Super Bowl unless I know
his ninth.
Unless I know he's going to lose it again. That I could totally go for because that's just demoralizing. That I could, if I knew that they were going to go to the Super Bowl and the Rams were going to beat them for sure, I'd be all day, every day, have it be New England. I want to see Tom Brady lose another Super Bowl. Because at this rate, he's going to end up having, be tied with how many he's won versus how many he's lost. So I'm all for those odds because I'm sorry, I don't care how many he wins. He could win one a year for the next 5 years, and he's still not in GOAT competition as long as Montana is in the picture. Because I don't care how many Super Bowls Tom Brady's won. It was a lot different of a game back when Montana was playing. Montana didn't have to cheat to win the play. It's just, I'm sorry, there's so many other ways. Plus, Montana, I think, is just a decent human being as compared to Tom Brady. And I just honestly think that regardless, Tom Brady could win 5 more Super Bowls, not going to happen, and still not be the GOAT because that's just going to be Montana. And this is coming from a diehard Raiders fan. So, the fact that I'm giving that credit to a 49er player should speak volumes, although it's Montana. I mean, anybody that grew up in our era that can't sit here and say that give him the credit that he's due is just ridiculous. Really, Snot Rockets, Tom Brady? That was great. Thank you, cameraman, for catching that. I do feel bad, guys, because they always catch the baseball player when he's adjusting his cup. They always catch somebody when they're doing something. The poor guy was peeing on the sideline. They always catch him in these talk about your, everything you do could be blasted out there on TV. I mean, this is a prime example of that. But yeah, I can't believe I'm watching this game.
I'm gonna say, but all right. Yeah, it is. But all right, y'all, that's going to wrap us up for this month. We'll be back probably next month to talk a little Super Bowl, talk a little All-Star break and some other things. Maybe a little college basketball being there'll be February and we'll be rolling into March Madness. So thank y'all for listening in today. Continue to listen in. We got Brick who just debuted at noon. We've got Lip Gloss and Mike's debuting at 6 as well as the return of MVT Deuce at 6. Lip Gloss and Mike's will be a podcast. And MVT Deuce will be live with the Saint and the Collective, so be sure to tune in for that. Other than that, our weekly lineup. We mention it just about every show. Kings and Queens of Porn on Tuesday. We got Raw Impact Unleashed on Friday, along with Double K's Classroom and Blues Rock and Cole. And then we come back around.
Up in this bitch.
And then we circle back around the Brick and Lip Gloss next week. Also next Saturday, we're doing the 4 Aces Presents Roundtable on DC and the 2019 comic movie releases. So other than that, that's it, y'all. Any last words for the people?
I have one thing to say, because we talked about me starting to sip on the Boogie Kool-Aid. The one person who's Kool-Aid, I'm still not drinking it. Ain't never gonna drink. Gruden can kiss my fucking ass.
Oh, Gruden. Amen to that. Amen to that, sister. Doual, any last words?
Come back soon, Bron. Go Lakers.
There you go. All right, y'all. Have a great night. Thanks for joining us for another great episode of West Coast Bias. Peace.